Hey, Chelsea.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Pretty good.
Our wonderful student who is being the workshop help down there will let people in that at the start.
Perfect. Thank you.
So do you need anything in terms of sharing your
Yeah, I will share my screen if that's okay.
think you should be all able to. So
Cool.
if you want to test it at all, you're welcome to. Looks good.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody knows sharing your entire screen if you care that, as opposed to just that.
it's fine because I like to jump back and forth a little
Exactly.
bit. So,
So yeah, that's a thing I don't sweat too much, but I always like to tell people because sometimes they're like, "Oh
right.
no."
Right. Forgot to turn off my email or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
hmm
whoops. Of course, I have all this stuff blocking everything popping up on my windows. It's on my computer. I'm actually here just as an attendee. I'm not doing anything official.
Great. Happy to have you. The more the merrier.
Yeah, looking forward to this. This is great.
Yeah.
Just because I can be hosty. Hi, everybody.
Hello,
you know,
everyone. We'll get started
as
in just a moment.
we all silently come in. So
It's the Eric and Chelsea show. Welcome.
that's right. And really, it's the Chelsea show. So and
The
thanks,
Chelsea
Christine.
show with Eric, featuring Eric.
Surprise guest appearance.
Yes, it's a surprise to him too.
Exactly. Well, I'm here as a host on all of the Zooms, just in case it
Right.
comes up, since
Yeah.
we're doing it locally here. So I keep coming in early for sessions.
Right. Right. No, that's good. It's always good to have, like another backup
Yeah,
person and that sort of
exactly.
thing. We appreciate that. hmm
But now I think it's going well. So great. Anyway, I'll
Yeah.
stop talking, let you have it. And
Sounds good. We'll wait just 1 minute. I'm going to put the short link to the presentation in the chat, but it's also on your screen if you are in the session. So you can just go to that short URL on the screen, obby/ACTAL AI virtual. And that will get you today's presentation. Go ahead and send that in chat. All right. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here and for coming to today's roundtable on AI literacy. I know some people are still joining, which is great. So we'll give them a minute to join. In the meantime, feel free to go ahead and go to the short URL that's in the chat. And I'll put it in there again because we have some people joining and that sort of thing. Oh, and thank you. Eric has posted in the Google Doc for today's presentation. And I'm going to go ahead and get that Google Doc open. So then afterwards, I can put in the links that we will be using today. That way we have them all together. Oops, we need to fix that URL real quick. We need 2 slashes. ACTAL AI virtual. There we go. Perfect. Oops, misspelled it. We'll get it right here. And I'm going to copy that one. Here we go. Great. So thank you all so much for being here today to talk about AI literacy events and efforts on campus. I thought what might be neat would be for us to maybe just share what's happening on our campuses regarding AI literacy. And so I'll do a quick introduction and then kind of review what are some things we might want to talk about. And then also I have a Padlet for you to post on, and that could be part of our notes that we add as well. So kind of be thinking about what are some things you are doing or that you're aware that your campus is doing around AI literacy. And that would be great to share. It'd be fun to see what all the different campuses are doing and so on. Just a quick introduction to myself. I'm Chelsea Hooper. I'm an instructional technology specialist. I work in the main library at Auburn University in the Innovation and Research Commons, which is on the first floor of the library. We have a makerspace, audio studio, Adobe Creative Space, lots of different materials that people can check out, technology lending, AR, VR, that sort of thing. And so my main role is to help advance the Adobe Creative Campus initiative here at Auburn. So we do a lot of things as far as workshops. We partner with faculty and also lots of other entities across campus, such as our Center for Teaching and Learning and different colleges and departments across campus to help them use Adobe Creative Cloud. And since Adobe has actually had AI in a lot of its apps for a long time, that's how, content aware fill has worked in the past and that sort of thing. And also because with the prevalence of some updates that have been done to more easily accessible or more easy to learn apps such as Adobe Express, they now have generative AI built into those. And so it seems sort of like a natural fit to help students understand and develop digital literacy, but also their AI literacy. In that they can do things in Express now very easily, such as text to image. You can even create text effects using just a description. And of course, you can implement that in Photoshop and Illustrator as well. So really a lot of interesting advances in generative AI with Adobe with our partnerships with other areas across campus, it just seemed to be a natural fit to where we would partner together. So to help with advancing also information on large language models, such as ChatGPT, but also that generative AI art feature being a natural way that we can start addressing AI literacy with students, because we were already in Adobe Creative Campus. Adobe Creative Cloud is a vetted software that's available to all students at no extra charge. And so that's a nice sort of foot in the door to help talk to them about AI. And so what we wanted to talk about today, and sort of there's some questions that you guys can kind of help answer. We'll come back to these and maybe post our responses on the Padlet. So if you click where it says post responses on the Padlet, or I can also just put the Padlet link in here as well. And you shouldn't have to sign in to get to this Padlet. It should just let you go in and post. Maybe start thinking about these questions if you feel like you would already like to go ahead and maybe answer some of these as I kind of share a little bit more about what we're doing at Auburn. Feel free to do that. So we have some questions here. We might want to actually start with section 4, which talks about, have you used AI? To what extent? What AI apps have you used? What are your current sentiments about AI? What uses for AI are you interested in? If you don't feel like answering all 4 of those questions, that's okay. You can just answer one. But to post, you simply click the little plus sign, and then you can post a piece of text. You can even post an image and that sort of thing. So that would be fun if you'd like to join into that. And we'll add the Padlet to the Google Doc as well. So that way you guys have all of those things. And if you feel like answering any of these other questions, please feel free as well. You just click the plus sign underneath the question. So I thought some things we could think about today and discuss would be how should we, people who are working in creative technology areas and libraries, react to the prevalence and shifts of ChatGPT or other AI apps and other generative AI art tools. So for example, if generative AI is becoming more prevalent in the Adobe products and we're an Adobe Creative Campus, or we have students who have access to that, that would be a natural thing to support the use of generative AI in that particular software. But it's not so clear when we have things like ChatGPT, which may not be a university vetted piece of software. Students may be unsure about how to use it or if it's okay to use it. Faculty, same thing. They may not be sure about how they should use it and that sort of thing as well. And then the second question is, how has your campus approached AI and AI literacy? And this could also kind of depend on, how segmented your campus is, or how centralized it is, or what entities are sort of leading that initiative, if they are, kind of depends. And then finally, how has your library approached AI and AI literacy? So we know students may need AI literacy in general, as far as understanding what is AI, how could I use it for writing assignments, how could I use it for art, but how could they use it within the context of the library, whether that's, using it with software that they can access in the library, or whether that's for research, all kinds of things there. So we'll come back to that Padlet, but feel free to go ahead and go to that Padlet link, and I'll put the link in chat again too for those of you who have just joined. And we'll come back to that while you guys are kind of filling that out. I'll be happy to take a moment and just share some things that we're doing at Auburn, and that might give you some ideas. But again, if you're just joining us, to get to the presentation link, you can go to this short OBBY link here, OBBY/ACTAL AI virtual, and that will take you to the presentation for today. And this presentation is actually an Adobe Express webpage. Makes it easy because then if we want to update it, we just update it, and then you guys, if you have the link, you have the most current version, which is pretty cool. So these are the questions I thought we might kind of address and come back to at the discussion part of it. But for now, I'm happy to do a quick sort of overview of some examples that we've done at Auburn, some ways that we've approached it from different areas and different perspectives. You may have approached it in a different way, and that is great. We're happy to learn about different perspectives and different approaches that you may have taken, and also challenges that you may have encountered. These are all important things to talk about as we think about how can we help impact AI literacy from our sort of centralized location within the library. Okay. If you guys have questions or other comments that you can't put on the Padlet necessarily, feel free to post in chat. I'll do my best to watch the chat as well. Or if you have a question about something I've mentioned, feel free to do that, or a comment, feel free to post in chat. Would be happy to have this session be as interactive as it can be. And so I'll go through some examples from our side, and then in a little bit, we'll check back on the Padlet and hopefully get some people to share, from their perspective. That would be great. All right. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about are some examples from Auburn, and I've kind of organized these in a little bit of sections. So approaching it from different ways. Overall, I would say on our campus in general, our Center for Teaching and Learning has really we're the ones really who started leading the way, along with our University Writing Center. And those people working together a lot, and as well as myself in the library and the Innovation and Research Commons, I partner with them a lot on the Adobe pieces. I'm involved in their course redesign. We do workshops together. We were already doing all those things together anyway, so it was kind of natural for us to continue to work together to help with AI literacy. But our Center for Teaching and Learning took on a large task of creating an entire Canvas course for faculty. And the link is listed here, so if you'd like to check that out. There are two different instances of the Canvas course that they've developed. One is an internal for Auburn faculty, mainly geared towards faculty. It's also open to staff. They can request access if they would like to. So do faculty. Everybody has to request access first. And then once you're given access, you can go through this Canvas course that has about 8 modules. And it walks people through thinking through AI in general. What is it? How would you use it? How would you use it with your students? You go through some activities like looking at your syllabus, maybe revising some of your policies in your syllabus, and maybe revising an assignment to include AI if you're comfortable with that. And at the end of it, they get a badge. So that's kind of a neat thing that they can go through and show that they, sort of have some basic understanding of what AI is and how to begin implementing it in the classroom and so on. That course was very popular and got some traction, and now there is a public course that's actually available. And on the link there, it tells you kind of more about it. But they have a couple of different ones, and it was featured in Chronicle of Higher Education and Inside Higher Ed. And so it's available for other campuses to purchase if they would like to. It is nice because it's asynchronous. It's really thorough. It takes a long time to get through it. It's not a fast course, but you can work it on at your own pace, and it is pretty thorough. Here it says about each 10 to 15 hours, I would say a bit longer than that. If you actually do all of the content, I would say it probably takes longer than that. So because you're also revising your syllabus, revising an assignment, that sort of thing. So if you count all of that time as well. But yeah, so that's information about that. So that was, say, probably the biggest initiative that was created early last spring. And then we help with our Center for Teaching and Learning's course redesign. So they offer a stipend to faculty and instructors, not really stipend, it's actually a additional professional development funds if they go through the course redesign. And so they take a week in the summer and they pick a course to redesign. And then we have workshops all week long to redesign that course. We talked about transparent assignments, multimodal assignments, AI, all of those things. So we're embedded inside of that. So that's where we can capture a lot of faculty and start relationships with them, and then help work with them in the future. University writing partners with them too on that. So having direct access to some faculty face-to-face, which is really nice. And then we've taken the lead in the Adobe Creative space with the generative AI art. Our students have access to the entire Adobe Creative Cloud without an additional cost. Our faculty and staff can get access at a reduced cost, and it comes from their department. So that's something we've redesigned all of our workshops to include generative AI art, sort of taken different angles with it, talked about what is creativity, when to use the generative AI, when it can help you, how to still be your own artist, that sort of thing. So those are some things we've done. So it's been a lot of work to kind of rework everything, especially with the recent updates to Express, but it's been good. And there's been a lot of interest and we record all of our workshops as well, and then post those recordings for our community to watch. And we have a lot of people watching those videos as well afterwards. So that's been good. I also partnered with University Writing to do a workshop for faculty. So we kind of we did some things larger size with Bigio, like the course redesign with the Teaching and Learning Center, but then we did sort of smaller pickled off ones. So then University Writing and I led a workshop for faculty where we led them through an activity where they used ChatGPT to write a children's story in their topic, in their area of study. And then we used Express to illustrate the story. And then we put those things together in an Adobe Express webpage or a presentation. And just giving faculty time to play with the tools, to kind of give them an overview of what this is, how can it be used, and then give them time to play in it. And that's what they really need, is the time to experiment with it and to try it out themselves. And then also to be in the room with each other, to talk with each other about how they can use it. And that kind of thing is really helpful. Also did a smaller workshops for faculty as a combination with the Center for Teaching and Learning. So we're trying to, as a way to try to uplift attendance, we kind of all cross post and also, combine. So then I can advertise to my audience, they can advertise to their audience, and hopefully more people come, which has been working pretty well. So our Center for Teaching and Learning has been hosting a Tech Tuesday, which is like an open tech time for faculty. And so I'm going to be one of the featured people there to talk about generative AI art. And so we can cross advertise and get more people. Our university writing department put together some simple one-pager guidance for students and also for faculty. And those are pretty good. They're public. If you'd like to go check them out, you're welcome to. But a lot of the guidance for faculty is, consider what your stance is going to be on AI. And here are some examples of how people react to AI and how they incorporate it or don't incorporate it. And then choose how you're going to do that, or choose what you're going to do, and then put that in your syllabus. So the students know what your stance is. And then same thing for students, very similarly, you should know what your faculty's stance is on the use of AI in that class. If there's nothing in their syllabus, then ask the teacher, what is their stance on it, So trying to push those things forward that way. So right now, everything's kind of done through Center for Teaching and Learning, through University Writing, kind of helping faculty. Other than that, there are pockets here and there of departments who are exploring it or not. It just kind of depends, so it's kind of a little all over the place right now. But those guys are helping really lead those initiatives. And then already mentioned our workshops. Also did some combo sessions with one of our librarians. So that was really good combo, just targeted towards students. So we did a workshop just targeted towards students on AI and using the guidance from University Writing and Big EO. So we're all kind of in line with each other, which is really helpful, I think. And then our Center for Teaching and Learning is working on, with the success of the faculty and instructor module, they're now working on one for students that can stand alone or that faculty can add as a course module into their Canvas course as a brief intro to AI. And here's how we're going to use it in our class. They can continue with that brief intro and however they want to, which is cool. So we're one of the resources for that. We give input. And then events. So another thing we're thinking of doing is in the spring, having an AI day where it's sort of a interactive showcase. So we're going to hopefully have some vendors come, Microsoft and Salesforce. And then also we'll do like an Adobe generative AI playground where we'll do some demos, just kind of an interactive tabling event, essentially. So we're working on that. And in the meantime, our Office of Information Technology is investigating, what are some closed AI systems we can work on? Because right now, Adobe's vetted, that's pretty much it. And then we just recently got an enterprise instance of Bing Chat. So that is now available. And they're talking about getting an enterprise instance of OpenAI, ChatGPT, with Azure, but that's not really widely available yet. And it's because of the cost. So every time there's a search done, there's a small cost. How are they going to divide up that cost among everybody when we have silo budgets? So that's a difficult thing they'll have to work out first. And then also, we are thinking about our employees, like our administrative and professional staff and our staff. And so we did a workshop on AI for our Women in Technology employee group. That was well received, went really well. And then we thought we should do this for all staff, offer it to everyone. So it's actually available to all employees. If faculty want to come too, they can. It's just anybody who's an employee at Auburn can attend, but it's geared more towards administrative and professional staff and staff. And that'll be through our HR system. So then that's sort of a system where people can sign up for workshops, they can attend them, and then there's a record of it. And that record is sent to their supervisor. So that can kind of help people with their performance reviews and kind of get it legitimized, as an actual session that they attended that will help them in their work and that sort of thing. And along the same lines, another event is coming up just for staff as a professional development day. And we're developing a session on AI for that day as well. And so those are kind of things we're working on. And then overarching from the university, our Office of Audit, Compliance, and Privacy has put out a general policy. You can imagine what that's like. It's really general. And it's just kind of like, don't put any proprietary information in there. Be aware of privacy. And if you have any questions, check with us first, basically, is kind of what it says. And then we have the 2 enterprise instances that one is available now, one is coming. Yeah, so that's what we've been doing at Auburn in general. And then here is something I thought might be helpful just to share with you is our general learning session or workshop approach. So when we're speaking to whether it's students or faculty or staff about AI in general, and just trying to help them learn more about it and practice it, this is kind of our plan in general. And it varies a little bit depending on the audience as far as the activity that we do. But in general, this is sort of the take we have been using. So one of the first things we do is talk to people or get them to try to get them to talk to us about what are their feelings about AI? Because a lot of times people come into these sessions, they don't have a clear idea necessarily of what AI is. Even if they do, they may not understand what the university's position on it is. How are they supposed to use it in class? How, whether they're a student or a faculty member, how can they use it in their work, if it's allowed or not? A lot of people may be really tentative about AI or have concerns, privacy concerns, or unsure about it. So addressing all of those feelings kind of first has been helpful. And it's all over the place. People will say, I'm really concerned, or I'm really hopeful, or I think I could use it, but I don't really know how. So it's good to kind of address that first. Yeah, thank you, Nicole. I kind of stole that from other people who are, presenting and that sort of thing. And I thought, and that was something we had thought of doing, but then it was kind of confirmed when I saw some other people posting on LinkedIn about how they approached some of these sessions. EDUCAUSE also has a wonderful series on AI. They're always doing webinars and they have great materials. So EDUCAUSE, I highly recommend them. And you can join their webinars and talk to other people at other institutions about these kinds of things too. So addressing their feelings about it is great. And that can be done through something like the Padlet that you guys are participating in. You can do similar things like that. And then the next thing we do is sort of a general intro to large language models, like what are they? Where did they come from? What can they be used for? Then we talk about AI art, and specifically within Adobe, but also like the fact that maybe other AI art generators might be violating copyright and how Adobe has set it up more responsibly. So we talk about ethics there. And then we mentioned some other AI tools and say, hey, there's so much out there, that we're just going to focus on these 2 for today to not overwhelm them, but, that they should be aware that there's other tools. And then we go into talking about the ethics, also digital equity. We discussed that because what if you as a faculty member say, hey, you have to use, ChatGPT, but then this student has access to ChatGPT-4. This one doesn't have access because it's paid. This one doesn't have access, because they're not going to pay for it. And then the other student gets better usage out of the AI because they have a paid AI that they're using. So things like that. And also privacy, we tell them things to watch out for, such as hallucinations, the fact that the language model might make stuff up and they should check it. And really the bottom line that we kind of express is like, hey, if you choose to use AI, if you choose to use its output in whatever you're doing, you're responsible for that content. So you need to be able to check it, and make sure that what you're using is valid. So those are all good things. And then we encourage some play. So we asked them to create an artifact. In a couple of instances, we said, have ChatGPT write a children's story, and then create the illustrations in Express, and then combine them, and let's make a children's book out of it. So just to get them to play with it, and then we discuss potential uses, and then encourage more play and then more discussion. And what happens is they end up talking with each other, and then that they scaffold on each other, and that works out really well. And they realize they're not alone in trying to figure this stuff out. And then we give them resources to continue learning. We're like, say, hey, go take the AI course in Canvas, or hey, there's another workshop coming up, or hey, you can join this cohort, or go back and talk to your department, and maybe y'all need to talk to a department about how y'all are going to use it. So those are our general session learning workshop approaches. And so what I'd like to do now is let's maybe flip back over to the Padlet. And wow, awesome. And I'm going to put the link to the Padlet in again, just in case you came a little late and you wanted to pop in and add to our Padlet. So we have a lot to unpack here. This is really great. And I'd love for y'all to feel free to just unmute and chat if you would like to, but let's just start going through. Maybe we'll start with section 4 and maybe check out some of the responses here. And then if somebody would like to elaborate on the response, you are welcome to do that. So section 4 was asking, have you used AI? To what extent? What AI apps have you used? What are your current sentiments? This is a great one to start with. What are your current sentiments about AI when you're talking with people about it? And what uses for AI you're interested in? All right, so let's look at some of the responses here. Background images, Photoshop, fantastic. An assignment calculator website without writing any code, awesome. Yes, it can definitely help you write code, helping with checking grammar, that's right. This can also be a great tool for students who are English language learners. They can use it to help them understand something. Midjourney, ChatGPT, and Firefly, decrease the use of Midjourney and ChatGPT. Yeah. There are some ethics that are involved for sure. So ChatGPT is kind of like just trained on, it's mostly Wikipedia. So it's only going to be as good as the input that is being given, right? And that sort of thing. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. The ethics of creative works that are made from humans versus stock materials that are free to use, right? And enjoying using Firefly to make images that you want to share when you're heavily lacking the technique. Yeah, for sure. Or if you're lacking in the ability to go photograph a human model wearing a specific thing, you know, you may not be able to do that, but you could create the background yourself and that sort of thing. Yeah, so what's cool about Firefly is that and Adobe is that it's trained only on its own Adobe stock. So then you're not going to have the copyright issues of other image generators, which is really nice. And as long as you iterate the design, then you can own the copyright to it. But since basically the Supreme Court ruled that an AI cannot own a copyright, there has to be some human interaction in there. And Adobe also has their content authenticity initiative, which helps give additional metadata into the images. So you can see, oh, this was this much human, this much AI, you know. And that's a little fuzzy anyway, because AI has been present in Adobe for a long time. So you could kind of argue that, you know, that's kind of been there for a while, but it's even more prevalent now. And also I learned from an Adobe webinar where they went more into detail about this, is that the way it's trained, when you tell Firefly to create an image, it's not pulling from, like, say, this one person's image that contributed and this other person's image that contributed. It's novel. It learned from both of those images and it created something new based upon the prompt that you gave it. So it really is like a novel image, which is interesting. Yeah. ChatGPT, Magic School AI. Yeah. Rubric creation, that can be good. Multiple choice. Yes, I agree. You definitely still need like a personal choice and that sort of thing. AI in your work. Great. Oh, she's got a post there. So y'all check that out and check out Nicole's blog there. That's awesome. Yeah, so cool. All right. Anybody else would like to maybe share about, you know, maybe unmute and share about how you've used AI, to what extent, maybe what apps you've used, current sentiments about it, that sort of thing. We'll start with question 4 and see if we can kind of go on. Oh, Nicole put the link in the chat. Thank you. That's awesome. So you guys can go check that out. Or what your sentiments are about it. Be happy to open to discussion on any of the questions here in section 4. And we can always come back to these if it comes to you later and you'd like to share something. It's, it's not totally rigid. We'll just go ahead and move on to some of our other questions so we can kind of see what you guys put. All right. So let's go back to section 1 here on our Padlet. The question was, how should creative technology areas and libraries react to the prevalence and shifts of ChatGPT or other AI apps and generative AI art tools? Great. Let's see what some of y'all put. And y'all feel free to scroll down and read some of the comments too, as I am. I'm going to read through and then pull some. And then if you'd like to unmute and discuss, or if you'd like to unmute and explain further, you're welcome to do that as well. So let's just check out some of the responses on section 1 together. Great. Okay, let's talk about the responses we have here in question 1. So yeah, it can be difficult and everybody's spread thin, right? So that's definitely a tough thing to try to be a leader on campus about it. And time is limited. And if you are a smaller school, then it kind of could be up to administrators, but it would be helpful for them to have some guardrails, right? So some ideas, you may have somebody who goes way off and is like doing 50 different AI tools, and half of which you don't even know what they are, and that sort of thing. You may have somebody who's just like, you cannot use it. I will tell you that you will, be plagiarizing if you use it, no matter how you used it, and that sort of thing. That is good that you had a faculty colloquium on AI tools, just giving them time to get together. And if there are times that you can find that they already have to be together, so like department meetings, other required times where they're already having to be there, if you can capture some of the times within those times, then that can be a way that you can kind of get in there. I think some people, though, in general, look to us in the libraries to kind of lead a lot of those sort of centralized things. And so I think you don't have to be an expert in this. And I'm definitely not an expert, I would say. I know enough to get people started, and I'm always learning about it and seeking out, additional resources to learn about it. And then just taking time to, of course, when you teach somebody about it, you have to prepare it and that sort of thing. But at least having a few guardrails in place, I think, would probably be helpful in general. So letting people know what are some of the basic information about it, what are some of the basic pitfalls to avoid, and what does a sample AI syllabus statement look like? What are some examples? What are some ways faculty can react to it? So that's good. It's a good start anyway to have faculty talk with each other about it. That's good. Believe that it's a tool that can be used with written responses. If there's a question asked, yeah, you can compare and contrast student responses. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same as if they were just going to search it's similar to if they search the internet for some answers, right? Except that what we have to remember about ChatGPT is that it's predictive. So it's guessing on how it should respond language-wise to your prompt based upon all of the language that it knows. So it knows mostly Wikipedia. It has some other information now that they've added fairly recently. You can turn on the web access if you want it to pull something that's more current, like in the news, and react to that. But yeah, and also I think it's good to have some skepticism about it. You shouldn't take it as a blanket. You shouldn't accept it blanketly, right? So I think those are important to say. Nicole's posted in chat about how she says our syllabus guidelines include 3 different templates that instructors can use based upon whether and how much they want to allow it. That's great. Nicole, maybe if you wouldn't, if you're in a space where you can and you wouldn't mind unmuting, do those instructors have to choose from those 3, or are they samples that they could then iterate?
Those are just samples, and it's just highly recommended that they say something about AI in their syllabus.
That's great. And if we like, we can take a second to check that out. if you don't mind.
If you
All
scroll
right.
down to the next section, you'll see these colorful boxes with
Great.
particular templates. There's the first one.
Great. So generative AI, we'll scan the headlines and then you guys can go back and look at the details. But generative AI use is not allowed for any purpose. So we call that a red light. Generative AI use is permitted or encouraged. We call that a green light. And then generative AI use is allowed for certain purposes or assignments, but not for others. That could be a yellow light. So some people use that kind of terminology. Yeah, that's good. Those are good examples. I do think it's good to at least let students know where you stand, because otherwise they're just kind of guessing. And actually a survey that our Center for Teaching and Learning did at the end of this past spring semester, they asked students, about their AI use for school. And they're like, hey, you're not going to get in trouble. You just tell us the truth or whatever, right? And like more than 50% were like, I just don't use it for my courses because I'm afraid that I will get told that I'm plagiarizing. So, but where does that leave them if they're going to be having to use this in the future? So it's like, you have to address it in some way. But that was interesting that most of them are really cognizant of it. And, they're using it, maybe tentatively. Others would say, I used it for some short answers, but I made some changes. I used it to check some written work, I used it to check some code, that kind of thing. So yeah, thank you for sharing. That's excellent. Very good. We'll go back to our Padlet here. All right. Any other thoughts on how we and libraries should be meeting the needs of AI literacy and ChatGPT and AI apps and generative AI art tools?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, at least from my standpoint, is that most of the time, a lot of people are like doing their own little groups. Like maybe there's a group in engineering, there's a group in fine arts that are all like looking at like, oh, how does AI affect our own work? But I think a huge thing is like finding out where the university stands. And presently, when I look through our my campus, a lot of it is like, very vague, and it's like, okay, do not use technology to cheat. And then you have through Canvas, it says like, oh, there's an AI detection software and then that may or may not be, able to key in on like if a student's responses are using generative AI. So I think a lot of the time it's sort of like I'm left in like sort of a limbo state, because it's like does the university have a stance on it? Will there be a stance be made? And like if we put one out as a library, will we be contradicting what the main campus will be leaning into?
Right. That's a very good point. And that can definitely be tough when you're kind of just waiting on administration to do something about it. So in those situations, it might be just case by case, addressing some of the needs as they come up and just saying, well, maybe if you said that that people on your campus have been talking about it like in their own groups, then maybe if you get those questions, you refer them back to their department, and you say, hey, has y'all's department talked about this? That would probably be a good place to start. But here's some general information on what AI models are and how they can be used. That way you're not putting yourself in a position, like you said, of dictating what they should or should not be doing. And that's definitely not what we do at all. We definitely don't dictate what they should or should not be doing. We recommend, that they think about how they could implement AI literacy, but maybe it's in a different way. Maybe it's through Adobe, which is vetted. Maybe it's through, learning about it in general, doing a presentation on it, something like that. So I think that's a very good point. And I think a lot of us are caught in a little bit of that limbo. So we even are too, a little bit because we wanted people to explore ChatGPT, but we don't have a university vetted instance of it. And so what we did is we said, if you are comfortable doing this and you would like to try it, we recommend for the purposes of this workshop that you create a free account and use your personal email address to create a free account on ChatGPT just to try it and see how it works. Now we have a university instance of Bing, so that's a little bit easier. It's different though, so it's not really quite the same experience, but it is something at least. And then we had Adobe, so it was vetted and all of that, which made it a little bit easier. But yeah, I imagine probably a bunch of other people here are feeling about like you are too. Are there other people here who kind of feel a little bit like that? Like you're kind of in a limbo, your hands are tied a little bit? Yeah. Thumbs up. That's right. And it could be just, and some of it is pushing back on them too in some ways. So what helped us was working with our Center for Teaching and Learning because they have more of a direct line to the provost office. So it's like, hey, this thing is here, students are using it, so what are we going to do about it? So you can't just stick your head in the sand or not address it, or address it in a super vague way, like what are we going to do for faculty and students? That does make it tough. Let's yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to also mention, I haven't used ChatGPT within the past month and a half or so. But when I had last used it, this is like my biggest concern with using it versus something like Firefly, is that whenever I tried to use like, third party app or add-ons, it would often like you would read through their terms and conditions and it would say, okay, if you want to use this thing for a PDF or if you want to use this thing for a written document, we may or may not, keep some of this information, or we may or may not, train our own systems based on what you upload. And it just sort of left me sort of, anxious about like using ChatGPT versus like going through Adobe Firefly, where I know it's at least like not trying to, I don't know, take advantage of the information that I upload or I submit myself versus like third party GPT add-ons.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I only have like one ChatGPT add-on, and it's the one that just summarizes the web page for you while you're looking at it. But it's only for work, so I'm not concerned about it. But yeah, that is something, and that's something to let people know about too with things like ChatGPT, is that, hey, it's open source. I mean, it's just like when we taught people about the internet, right? Same kind of thing. Like, don't be putting all of your personal information out on the internet for everybody to learn. Like, sanitize it first. So we talked about that, like making sure you do that. So if you're going to have it help you write a resume, for example, don't put any personal, like data in there. Just put the things you want it to help you with as far as rewording things and things like that. So that is something to be aware of, is that many of those say that they could train on the information you put in there, which is why a lot of the universities want to move to an enterprise instance. So like our instance of Bing Chat is, it looks pretty sanitized based upon my limited searches that I've tried with it just recently. And it doesn't save your chats. So you can't go back in there and continue working on something that you were working on before, except you have to start over. And you can't send a chat. As soon as you close out, it doesn't save anything. Any information you upload into it, it doesn't retain at all. So I mean, that's good from a enterprise safety standpoint and a student safety standpoint. That's great. But until universities kind of move towards getting their own instances like that, yeah, it's a little sketchy. You just have to be careful, just like any open source software you have to be careful of. So that's a very good point. Thank you. Let's look at our next question. How has your campus approached AI and AI literacy? So this is like campus wide. So here are what some working groups on our campus have done. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, Nicole's sharing, you can turn off the training on your data in ChatGPT settings, and here's how. That's a good tip. Thank you. Very good. So let's see what, and then there's a link here, so you guys can check out the link to Arizona's information there. That's perfect. JMU is leaving AI use classes up to each professor. The full university is starting a couple of task forces. That's a great approach too. We've started to do that as well. We have an AI at AU committee that has formed, and it's comprised of people from different areas across the university, which is really good. So OIT, university writing, myself, HR, the Center for Teaching and Learning. And also here's a unique thing that we've added: students. So we've added students to our task force from SGA, from our student government. And I think that's been a really neat thing, because when we meet, then we can get their perspective and what they think about it, and what they would recommend for future students to use and that sort of thing. So that's really good. Yeah. Provost has established an AI committee. That's very similar, right? Includes a growing list. This is great. So having a central location to put some things like this, that's amazing. That's very good. Having some centralized activity. So we have University Writing has posted some stuff on their site. Big EO, our Center for Teaching and Learning, has some stuff on their site. We have our training on Firefly, sort of separately on our site. So this is very smart to pull it all together. And I hope that's something our committee can do too. So in this case, this person's library has created an AI LibGuide. Yes, thank you. That's what I would like to see done. But our Center for Teaching and Learning does most of the heavy lifting. Yes, absolutely. Which kind of makes sense, because then you're pulling from their expertise, which is great. But there's several committees working on it. That's awesome. That's very good. I really like that idea. Other thoughts or things, if somebody would like to unmute and share about how your campus has approached AI and AI literacy before we go on to our next question. Great. Nicole's sharing a bunch of things in the chat. You guys are welcome to check out. That's awesome. And I'm going to click on some of her links real quick, just so I can add them to the notes later. So I'll capture those. Linguini, I know, right? For sure. Linguini. Like from Ratatouille. All right, here we go. Let's look at our last question. We're doing really good on time. It's 2:30. We have about 10 minutes. How has your library approached AI and AI literacy? So for myself, in the Adobe Creative Space, which exists inside of the library in our Innovation and Research Commons, of course, we've approached it through helping people use generative AI art in Adobe and so on. I heard talk of somebody starting sort of an AI literacy group among librarians and that sort of thing, but I haven't seen anything come out yet. I don't think just yet. So we'll see kind of what happens with that. But we do get people asking us about how do I conduct research, maybe using AI. This is great that Nicole shared the LibGuide here. That would be a great resource to check out. She says they've created 4 tutorials about generative AI. That's awesome. And are these geared more towards like how to use them in library research, or are they general?
The first one is general, about the technology and how it works behind the scenes. And the second one is about how it aims to prevent harmful use, like with guardrails and things. And the third one is about the difference between generative AI and discriminative AI and things you need to know. And the fourth one is about using ChatGPT effectively, like prompting and all of that. I also posted in that Padlet an assignment, which is also linked in the tutorials, because, we had a bunch of students last spring coming to the library and saying, hey, I found these articles in ChatGPT, but I can't find them in the library. It's because they were all fictional, right? And so we made an FAQ about that, saying, it's better to use library databases and Google Scholar, but here's some other things you can do with ChatGPT. So we made this assignment, which is linked further down in the Padlet, that lets people, that encourages using ChatGPT to come up with ideas like topics to write about, and then keywords for searching in library databases. And then also it can construct Boolean search strings for you and explain how they work. So that's in that
Yeah.
assignment. And then also it can give you advice about which databases to search for a particular topic. And you can always then go check to see if your library has those databases, just in case it made one up. But so far I found it did a really good job.
Nice. That's awesome. That sounds really good. One I learned about not too long ago is consensus. And that one's supposed to be a good research starter AI as well. And then when it first came out, and like you said, students were using it to look at papers and then realizing that the paper didn't exist and that sort of thing, because it just, again, it's predictive. So it's just guessing what letters it should put together to make sense to your prompt and that sort of thing. But I've also heard some people have success with Perplexity as well, for it actually pulls real citations as opposed to hallucinating them. Yeah, so those are great.
Perplexity. I love Perplexity. I'm doing a training for our own staff department in the libraries, the student learning and engagement, next week. And we're going to cover tools like Perplexity and Elicit, which I pasted into the chat. Because I know people just haven't had time to experiment with all of these things. So we're going to do some hands-on work with these different tools.
Awesome.
So that our own staff can get up to date.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing, you know. I mean, it's changing so fast, you know, that it's hard to kind of keep up with that. And so what do we do for a lot of our sessions that we might be planning in the future? So like we have a session that we're planning, of course, for like our staff, that we're not even holding that session until November 28th. And so what we're doing is we're choosing to have our planning date maybe a week before the session that we're going to offer. And that's when we actually make the materials and that sort of thing, because it's going to change, you know, by that time. So yeah, so you have to kind of plan to not know what's happening and kind of plan for the future for that. So those are great resources. Those are awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing those. Those are really great. AI experimentation sessions. I love that. People just need time to play. The more they play with it, they'll figure out, you know, they'll be like, can I use this to write grants? Can I use this to do this? You know, and then we get to talk about those instances and what are the pros and cons of doing that, and what are the ethics of doing that, and all of that. Those are great. A team site is great, so you can chat with each other and post conversations. That's awesome. That's really cool. Library staff and faculty to develop learning modules for students and faculty on the basics. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, in some cases you can create a module and work with your Canvas or whatever your LMS is, their administrator, and then they can add it as an opt-in, so anybody can add it. So that would be a great thing. Someone else says they developed a short document with guidance and resources. Guidance and resources for teaching and research for librarians, also a basic slide deck. That's very good. So creating some basic things that are general, that are going to be pretty much the same. You know, the general information about LLMs is going to stay the same. So, you know, you're safe with that. And then when you talk, you just update it, right? And then have something that people can take with them to help, you know, raise the AI literacy. That's an excellent tip. I love that. An internal community of practice, absolutely. So helping people take time to learn more about it, informal conversations, that's awesome. And a book club, that's perfect. That's great. Developing a guide and also presenting on AI topics with new faculty. Also, you can hopefully reuse those topics and present at conferences too. So you kind of go with it and do two things at once. And a sample assignment with prompt ideas. That's great. Those are awesome, you guys.
That's the one I was already talking about earlier.
That's the one you were talking about earlier. Yeah. Awesome. Generating topics for a research paper. Yeah. How to use it to help generating topics and giving you ideas and outlines, and then also keywords and things like that. So perfect. And then we have some things in the chat. Oh yeah. Site.ai. That's true. Very good. That's another one. So we can add that one too. Very good. And then we'll go back to the Padlet, getting lots of tabs here. Yeah, very good. So just started playing with it, right? And that's the thing, you just got to try playing with it and see what works best for you. And the more you kind of have an idea about some of these different tools, the more you can recommend, you know, more knowledgeably, you know, to people. And sometimes it just takes learning about it too. I had somebody ask me about another one, and I was like, I haven't heard of that one, so I gotta go figure that one out next. So that's kind of how it goes. Yeah. Well, we just have a couple of minutes left. I'd be happy to open it up to any other thoughts or questions any of you guys might have on the general topic of AI literacy, or feel free to post in chat or unmute.
I had a real quick question. Will this virtual session in which we put some responses to those sections be available afterwards?
Yeah, so it looks like ACTAL is recording this, first of all. And then second, we have the Google Doc. And what I'm going to do is, after this session is over, I'm going to toss all these links, as well as this Padlet link, as well as my presentation link, into that Google Doc. And then everybody will have that. So we can put the Google Doc in here again, so that way you'll have everything together in one location, if that sounds okay. So then we'll just toss all of our links in there. And if there's other thoughts you guys have that you wanted to type in there, I wasn't typing or keeping notes on what we were talking about, but I think a lot of what we've discussed is either in the Padlet or is on the other links that we mentioned. Any other questions or final thoughts? All right. Well, we are at 2:40. Thank y'all so much for coming today. I am going to be attending ACTAL in person. I hope some of you guys will be too. So I'm looking forward to being there next week, doing a little traveling. That'll be fun. So thank y'all so much for coming and attending today and participating. We actually have curated a lot of great resources, and thank you for sharing too. Many of you shared your resources with us, so that's greatly appreciated. Always makes the conversation better and richer, and we're all the better for it, because it's all about helping students, no matter where they are. So thank y'all so much. And it was great to see all of you guys. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the ACTAL virtual conference, and hope to see some of you in person next week. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.